What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Welcome back to this retro review. Listen, y'all been waiting on this one a long time. Shouts out to Lil Baby. You've been patient. This is The Wire Season 3, Episode 2. So we pick up Omar still being Omar, child. Omar's out here robbing folk. He done rolled up into one of Avon's stash houses disguised as an old man in a wheelchair. And his nurse is one of his girls. You know, the two girls he was rolling with last season. So they are still doing what they doing, okay? And of course, they were like, yo, this is one of Avon's houses. And Omar was like, I don't care about Avon and I don't care about Stringer Bell. Because remember, he's still on that brother X from last season that, you know, he put it together that he was being set up by Stringer. So he really on one. He could care less. Now we see Stringer Bell going to visit Avon in jail. And they're talking about now that the towers are gone, what they're going to do. And basically Avon is telling him, listen, you need to get that real estate. You need to get them corners, you know, get them close to downtown so we can get the most traffic. But you're going to have to do whatever you got to do to get them to get on them corners. And we know that Marlo, that he's able to Avon and his lieutenants are able to sort of broker deals with all of the little, you know, corner dudes except for Marlo. And they're trying to get they're trying to catch up with Marlo, but Marlo is not, you know, he's not easily accessible, okay? McNulty is on one. Y'all know McNulty be getting these dogs with a bone. So now what McNulty is on is he's trying to figure out the situation with D'Angelo. He's not convinced that D'Angelo killed himself. Now, why all of a sudden he worried about it now? Who knows? McNulty gets in his moods. Who knows why he's in these moods? But he has gotten into one of his moods, and now he is trying to figure out D'Angelo and how and why D'Angelo died, okay? He ain't buying the suicide. He went to his friend down at the coroner's office and said, listen, can you try to figure this out? The state police took care of this. And y'all, you know they did a piss-ass poor job, right? So, we're lining up the players. The other thing we have going on is we have, you know, the city council guy. I made up a name for him, but I forgot what I made up the name for him. So, we're going to call him Cornucopia, okay? His name's going to be Cornucopia. And Abby, don't be correcting me. I know his name ain't Cornucopia. But he done met up with, oh shoot, your boy from last season, Pastrami Sandwich's father-in-law. And he was like, listen, I'm trying to get the chief or the acting chief in my back pocket. Like, I know I ripped him a new one in front of Comstat, and that's just so that he'll know what the deal is, who's who and what's what, right? I need him in my back pocket. I know he don't want to double cross the mayor, but what I need to do is convince him that it's a lot better for him to be one of my friends than be one of the mayor's friends. And if you can help get that and broker that deal, ooh, piece of hair sticking straight up. If you could help broker that deal, it's something in it for you too. And he was like, listen, I don't know about all of that. I'll do the best I can. I'll do the best I can, right? So while all of this is going on, they having a dog fight down to the warehouse, and Cheese enrolled in there with his dog, and he, you know, his little pit bull, and you can't tell him that his dog ain't the best dog that's about to play. He done put $25,000 down on his dog to win. Well, the other dudes, they that you know he's fighting against, they like, I don't know nothing about dog fights, so they putting something on the dog that I guess gives them the advantage. And one of Cheese's boys peeps it. Now here's what I found was interesting. He peeped it before the fight, but he didn't say nothing until after the fight was over. And Cheese's dog lost. Cheese goes in the back and has to shoot the dog to put the dog out of his misery or whatever. Now, he said he did it because he felt like the dog turned on him. And I was like, the dog ain't turned on you. The dog lost. Now, he will tell Cheese after Cheese shoots his dog, you know, you ain't really lose that fair and square. They cheated. I didn't understand that. I just knew he was going to say something before the fight. But whatever. So, you know, that ain't much. I guess that's street code shit. I don't know. Now, we got Hurt and your boy. They still doing what they do. Y'all know that they a bunch of fools. Hurt and Carver, they're still out on the streets. They're still in narcotics. Carver, you know, he's a lieutenant and all of that. Carver out here and her playing you can sleep with any woman you want, any woman in the world you want to, but you have to sleep with a man first. And so, they're playing this game the whole episode. They're just having different, different parts of the game. He said he would sleep with Mary Kay and Ashley Olsen. He was like, okay, well, I got to pick a guy. I know that's a setup. The minute I say a man, then all of a sudden now you're going to be like, oh, I knew you was just a closet. I knew you was in the closet the whole time. I knew you was really, and they're just going to do this game. But basically he ends up falling into it because he eventually does name a man. And of course, exactly what he said was going to happen is what happens. Now back down to the corner, we got Marlo and his crew on one side, and we have, what's my boy? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Avon's boy from going all the way back to season 1. He's on the other side, but he's looking for Marlo. He was told to go find Marlo, so he's over there looking for Marlo. And Marlo's boys was gonna shoot them up because they didn't set up shop across the street. Avon's boys and set up shop across the street. And Marlo was like, you know what? Don't say nothing. Chill out. Go back to business. Let me think on it. One thing we learned about Marlo is he does not act fast. He thinks everything through, and he is very methodical. And he also has someone that he, speaks with that gives him, his insight. So while all of this is going on, honey, my boy Stan, that's who it is. Pastrami Sandwich's father-in-law, Stan, he actually gets the commissioner. He gets the commissioner to meet him for drinks after work, and he's trying to talk up, the city councilman, cornucopia, corned beef sandwich, whatever. And he's letting them know. He's like, listen. The acting commissioner's like, listen, I'm not turning on the mayor. Like, we're going to have to figure out something. We're going to have to come to a happy medium where everybody is happy because I'm not turning on the mayor. Well, funny enough, here come Cornucopia, and they end up having a conversation. And he tells him, he was like, listen, I can be a better friend to you than an enemy. As a matter of fact, you tell me what you need, and let me show you that I can get you what you need. And so he says, listen, I've been having a hard time getting my cards back. My radio cards, I got like 20 radio cards down. And every time I try to, get some status report or get my cards, I always get the runaround. So you let me know what you can do about that. Well, of course, a week later, what ends up happening? He gets all his cards back. And, Councilman, Cornucopia was like, I told you I could be a better friend to you than the enemy. Like, you tell me what I could do to help you out. Now, we know at the end of the day, he's trying to get the chief on his side because he's angling for mayor. But it's all a political chess move. And the commissioner knows he's kind of caught in the crossfire. But he also knows that what he can't do is continue to be out, getting embarrassed every week about, the crime stats. Down to the funeral home. Stringer then called a meeting, and he wanted to know what's going on with these corners. He was like, are we good? Are we set up? What's good? What's going on? And I'm sorry. They find out that that's when he has to report back that they still haven't been able to get in touch with Marlo and be able to get the whole situation with the corners set up. And so, of course, Stringer was like, well, until you talk to Marlo, I don't know why you here with me. He was like, you called the meeting. He was like, I don't care about what I called. I need you to go and get this straight with Marlo. Then they find out that your boy is robbing them. He was like, yeah, they hit us, he hit us at the stash house. Come to find out, Omar done hit 2-3 stash houses, okay? So he was really giving them a hard time. And he let them know, like, and he calling you by name, Stringer, like, he don't care that it's Avon's spot. He don't care but that you involved. Matter of fact, almost like he want us to know. Now, while this is going on, Marlo don't want to talk to his boy, the guy that, his little guru, his mentor. And, his mentor was like, what you gonna do? Like, they trying to take over, your corners. It's Avon Barksdale. You know what that means. you need to think this through and make a decision as to what it is that you're going to do. And he said, and it looks like Avon going to be home soon. So if you decide to start this war, you better be ready to fight this war, right? So Marlo got something to think about, right? Marlo got something to think about. McNulty to let Bunk know that he don't think that the situation with D'Angelo is what it looks like. And Bunk really don't care that much about it. Like, Bunk is trying to have sex, okay? Now, Cheese found out that he got double-crossed and that they cheated in that whole dogfight situation. And so, he went and, he put a hit out on the boys and he got revenge. So now they got these murders on the wire. And they're trying to figure out what's going on, why these dudes getting killed. And of course, they automatically assume it's about drugs. Child, it ain't about no daggone drugs. They end up getting Cheese on the wire, talking about how he ain't been able to sleep since he shot him in the head. And that was his best friend. That was his dog. But, you know, they think he means slang dog. And, honey, you can't tell them nothing. They so happy. They're like, oh, my gosh, we can't believe that they done got sloppy enough to get on the wire and start talking about killing somebody. And so now they so now they got to have this conversation. Do we expose ourselves? Because once they say something to Cheese about knowing what's happening, they didn't expose that they got this wire up. But they are so convinced that they got this, they got Cheese admitting to a murder that they ready to bring him in. Now, Cubby got burnt. You know, Avon hooked him up with a package. He wasn't really trying to get back out there selling drugs. So he was going to sell the package, make the money, and keep it moving. But remember, he got double-crossed. Now, he tried to be a better man, so he didn't kill that dude. And he went to go see his probation officer, and, you know, his probation officer was like, we need you to get a job. I need you to do this and do that and the other, or you know what's going to happen. So we see him picking up day work or whatever. But remember, Cubby comes into play. But for right now, we just kind of parlaying on Cubby a little bit. Now, McNulty, like I said, dog with a bone. He's got the autopsy pictures. He's looking at the pictures, and he is convinced that the ligature marks on D'Angelo's neck are not consistent with, you know, he's like, something don't look right here. Like I said, he took him to his his friend down to the corner, and his friend was like, I mean, it could be a legit situation, or it could be that, you know, he was strangled first and then, you know, the scene was set up, but he's not necessarily convinced. Now, McNulty done went and visited D'Angelo's girlfriend, you know, baby mama, aka the one sleeping with Stringer Bell. And she was like, it's been a year. Like, why are you over here now? Why do you care now? And, you know, McNulty was like, listen, we're just not convinced that it was a suicide. Like, did he say anything to you about wanting to die? Did he say anything to you about this, not wanting this to happen? And she was, you know, of course, she giving him the look like, you know, she ain't saying a whole lot, but he does leave his card with her when he leaves, you know. Now, excuse me. Hurt and Carter are trying to figure out what's going on. Why all these bodies dropping? Remember, the bodies dropping because of this damn dog. But Pooh ain't telling them nothing. You know, Pooh is used to the drill. He know what's up. Hurt, Carver, Pooh, and the other dude whose names, for whatever reason, is out of my brain right now. They've been doing this dance, y'all know, for 2 years now. So they ain't scared of Hurt and Carver. They know they really two simpletons for real, you know. So they decided that they are going to go for it. They said, we got it on the wire. We got to move now. And so Lester and Pastrami Sandwich decide that they're going to get the warrant and they're going to move on this. They want to get the warrant and they're going to move on it. So they all end up meeting up. They eating crabs. You know, you can't have Baltimore without somebody eating some crabs. So they all sitting around eating crabs. The DA, the lieutenant, you know, press, you know, all of them are sitting around eating crabs, you know, hammering out whether they're going to get this warrant or not. And she tells them, she said, listen, if we get the warrant y'all know, like, it's got to show up in court. Like, basically, you've showed your hand. Like, if we get this warrant, you have shown your hand. And as a result, we got to be ready. Like, we got to make sure that we got what we got, that we got it, you know. So they think they got what they got, that they got it. And they bring Cheese in for questioning. You know, they do. They bring Cheese in for questioning. Now, listen. Something else very interesting and very important happened before we get to all of that. Something else happened. We see the beginning of the affair between the DA that used to mess with McNulty, her, and the lieutenant. Lieutenant that finally moved out of his house because, you know, he was living in that little room, honey. He got his own apartment, and we see that, you know, they getting in the do-to-do. So this is where that relationship gets started, right? Kima and her wife are not doing well at all. Kima, it looks like she is not bonding with the baby. Her and the wife are not in a good place. And things just ain't looking good for Kima. I don't like it because I like Kima, but, you know, I don't like it for Kima because she is just really, really, really not happy with that whole situation, right? So, like I said, they decided they're going to move on the warrant and they're going to bring in Cheese. So they get to talking to Cheese and they go back and forth because it's one of those crazy conversations where they're talking about a murder of a person, and he's talking about the murder of his dog, and he's like, I mean, you know, I did what I had to do. I thought he had turned on me, but he didn't. And how did y'all find out about it anyway? And then somewhere in the conversation, Cheese realizes that they think he's talking about a person, and he knows he's talking about a dog. And so they do that dance for a little bit longer until he finally says, yeah, it was my dog, and I killed him because I had to shoot him. Because, you know, I don't know how much he actually admitted to a dog fighting ring, but they knew it wasn't a body. So basically, they have pretty much exposed themselves for nothing. Now, Lieutenant Daniels is worried about all of that because he said, listen, this whole organization, this whole unit was started to get the bodies. It was never about drugs. We stumbled into the drugs. We were picked up because of the bodies. And so we got to get back to what we're doing. And if we can't, you know, connect the drugs to these bodies, you know, then we're going to have to roll out and we're going to have to move on to something else because we're getting a bunch of bodies in another part of Baltimore. We're going to have to move out of Avon's territory and move over there. And once they sort of fumbled the ball on that one and it wasn't really a body, it was about a dog, that sort of solidified that they're going to have to come up off of dealing with Avon and that whole situation and move into something else. Now, while that's going on, Marlo has made his mind up. And Marlo makes his way back over to the corner. Bodie, that's it, Bodie. And Bodie tries to talk to him. Bodie was like, yo, you Marlo? Like, you know, can I talk to you? And Marlo ain't really talking to him. And he was like, you know, that's Avon. You know, I'm with Avon. And what it shows you is that Avon's name just really ain't ringing like it once was. Like, ain't nobody scared of the ghost of Avon Barksdale, right? Marlo said, I'm going to need you to go pack up and go home. I'm going to give you a chance to get in front of this, and I'm going to give you a chance to pack up and go home. And, you know, of course, Bodie was like, what? Because, of course, he thought that he could just do what the rest of them did and say, listen, it's Avon, we're going to do this cut, we're going to do this cut, and it is what it is. But when it ain't work out that way, Now, on the other side, we got Bunny. And Bunny is trying to run his unit, and, of course, everything right now is about the numbers. And they see that these lieutenants are getting, you know, ringed up in front of Comstat time after time after time because these numbers, the murders are going up, 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 up. And so Herc and Carver, they set out to do a night of hand-to-hands. You know, you get your hand-to-hand, you make your arrest, and hopefully you can flip that person for the next person on the food chain, and it continues to go up, up, up. Well, on this particular night, a police officer ended up getting shot. Now, he didn't get killed, but he did get shot. And as a result, you know, Bunny comes in, you know, he lets them know, listen, he's going to survive. He's still, you know, not out of the woods yet, but he should live. He can have visitors. He said, but let me tell y'all something. And he proceeds to tell them, because we see Bunny talking to a friend of his. And the friend told him, he said, listen, this whole drug thing, y'all fighting an uphill battle. He said, that's like trying to sweep the porch off in the middle of fall. Like, the leaves gonna come back in 5 minutes. It's an exercise of futility. He said, listen, y'all fought the good fight, but at the end of the day, ain't nothing coming out of this. Like, there's nothing you can do with this. You fought the good fight, though, but this is a wrap. And so he says, well, excuse me, he says, well, he thinks about it. So he's talking to his people. He's standing in front of his people, and he's telling them, he said, listen, back in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, I don't remember what year, child. The city council passed the ordinance saying you could no longer drink in public. It was illegal. You could get arrested, yada, yada. He said, and so now the police officers were faced with a task of hassling people all day long for drinking, some beer on the corner. He said, because the corner is always the meetup spot. The corner is always the hangout spot. He said, so now the police had a decision to make. Are we going to spend all day arresting people because they drinking a little beer? Or are we going to deal with murder, kidnapping, and robbery? Like, are we going to deal with the real crimes? He said, and somewhere down the line, somebody came up with this brilliant idea that to put their beer inside of a brown paper bag. He said, and what that did was that gave the police cover to say, well, they're not drinking in public because now it's in a brown paper bag. The police knew what it was. They knew what it was, but it gave everybody enough deniability to keep it moving and allow the police to focus on what they needed to focus on. Now, Bunny said, we had an officer shot over 3 vials of crack. He said, I want to see police, if they're going to get killed for something worth it. It ain't worth it for no 3 vials of crack. He said, we never had a brown paper bag for drugs until now. And he said, from this point forward, we are not doing any more hand-to-hands. We are not wasting police power, manpower on hand-to-hands, especially with the risk being that we could potentially lose an officer over it. Of course, the whole thing went over Herc and Carver's head. They're like, what are we going to do now? We can't do hand-to-hands. That damn Herc and Carver. Anyway, y'all, that's the episode. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.